All right, Shalom Israel. We are the I.S.U.P.K out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohanna. I'm priest and officer Card. All right, and tonight we're keeping the Feast of First Fruits. All right, we're from the Trinidad camp. Again, log on to us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and all the social media handles. All right, tonight is a Sabbath. All right, it's a Sabbath service, and we're about to begin the service. Let's say Imodium. SHALAM to Israel. When you put down, with the right and face the east. Let's see Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. So now, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shemkai, Yahweh, Malachaka, Taba'a, Ratizaka, Hayah, Aisha, Ba'aratiza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashemayim, Nathan, Lanawa, Lakam, Kal, Yawam, Wasalaknawa, Kawawatnawa, Hasalaknawa, Kawawathanawa, Wala'a, Tabianawa, Banasayawan, Abad, Hawashainawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Wa'ala, Wastapara, La'ai, Walamya, Aman. We just said now in English, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Yahweh. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. We're going to say now the Hakak. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Babakashah, Nathan Lanawa, Hakak, Hakak, Narapa'ah, Kalmaka'ala, Wakalma the Wall, Hakak, Lataha, Hamatazariah, Hakak, Lahakwayam, Hamatayam, Hakak, Irakawat, Hamata'ala, Lagarashan, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Tawada Aman. We just said now in the English is Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai. Please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the leper, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out in the name of Yahweh Shai. Thank you. So be it. We're saying now the blessing of bless Israel. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Barak Nawa, Wayasha'ala, Wahabiyah, Superior, Barak, Rapah, Magan, Hagan, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Tawada, Aman. In the English, Lord, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless us and Israel and the school. Bless, heal, shield, protect our loved ones. In the name of Yahweh Shai. Thank you. So be it. We say Psalm 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'a, Ayanya, Al Harayam, Ma'ayan, Yaba'a, Isaiah, Ma'ayam, Aisha'a, Shamayam, Wa Arataza, Ayatan, Lamawa, Ragalka, Ayanawam, Shamaka, Hana, La'a, Yanawam, Wala'a, Yayashan, Shawama, Yasha'ala, Yahweh, Shamaka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Alya, Yamyanka, Yawamam, Hashamash, La'a, Yakaka, Wayra, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamaka, Makarai, Yashama, Ata, Nashbaka, Yahweh, Yashama, Tazahatka, Wabawaaka, Mayata, Wa'i, Iwalam. What you're saying here now in the English is, I will lift up my eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Most High, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is a shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and even forevermore. Verse 83 in the Hebrew. Alahayim, Al Damayalaka, Al Takarash, Al Tashakwa, Al Kayahanna, Awayawaka, Yahamayawan, Ra'ash, I Amaka, Yaira Yawa, Sawada, Wa Aitazawa, I Tazapawanka, Amarwa, Lakawa, Wanakayadam, Magawiya, Wala'a, Yazaka, Shamyash'ala, Iwada, Kaya, Nawa Aitazawa, Laba, Yakarwa, Al-Yaka, Bariya, Yakarathwa, Alahaya, Amarwa, Amadawam, Wayashamai Alayam, Mawa'aba, Wahagarayam, Gabal, Wa'aimawan, Wa'aimala, Palasha, Ayashabia, Tazawar, Gam Ashawar, Nalawa, Imam, Ayawa, Zarawai, Labanya Lawat, Salah, Aishalaham, Kamadian, Kasaya Sarah, Kayabian, Banakal, Kwayashwan, Nashamadwa, Bayanda Ira, Ayawa, the man, La Adama, Shayatamwa, Nadaya Mawa, Kaira, Wakazaba, Wakalta Zamanai, Kalnasakamwa, Asher, Amara, Nayarashra, Lanawa, Atha, Naawath, Alahaya, Shayatamwa, Galgala, Kakwash, Lapanya, Rawaka, Kaash, Sabaira, Yaira, Wakalabaha, Salahat, Harayam, Kantarapadma, Basuraika, Wabasa, Wapaska, Sabahalam, Ma'ala, Panyaham, Kwalawan, Waya, Bakwashwa, Shamka, Yahawa, Yabashwa, Waya Baharwa, Iri, Waya Kaparwa, Waya Abadwa, Waya Daiwa, Kaya Ata, Shamka, Yahawa, Labadka, Aliyawan, Alkaha, Arataza. Now in the English, keep not thou silent, O God, and hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, and the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assur is also joined with them. They are open, the children of Lot, Selah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeb, yea, all their princes as Zebah and as the lunar, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession. O my God, make them like a wheel, as a stubble before the wind, as a fire burneth the wood, as a flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the most high over all the earth. Unplug this here. Plug it on only like that. Yeah. No. That's not. Alright. Good. Let's go back in now. Go back. What? Tonight is the Feast of First Fruits, and we'll be reading from Leviticus chapter 23. And Leviticus chapter 23 is where we get all the high holy days and the feasts of the Lord. So we begin the reading in the Hebrew in the book of Leviticus, chapter 23. Starting from verse 1. I'll be reading both the Hebrew and the English. The book of Leviticus, chapter 23, and verse 1. Wayadaba Yahweh Allah Mashah La'amah. Verse 2. Daba Allah Banya Yasha'ala Wayamath Wayamarath Alahayam Mawa'idaya Yahweh Asha Taparaiwa Atam Makwaraya Kwadash Alha Ham Mawa'idaya. Verse 3. Shashaf Yam Ta Aisha Mala Arak Wabaya Wam Ashabaya Aya Shabbath, Shabbathayan, Shabbathwan, Mokorah, Quadash, Kal, Malakah, La'ah, Ta'ai Shawa, Shabbath, Shabbath, Shawa'ida, La Yahweh, Bakal, Mawa'ai Shabbath Yakam. Verse 4. Alakah, Mawa'idea, Yahweh, Makoraya, Quadash, Ashah, Thakarawa, Atham, Bamawa'ida. Verse 5. Bakadash, Hakorah, Shawan, Ba'araba Aiha, Aishara, Lakadash, Banya, Ha'ai Kwabayam, Pasak, La Yahweh. Verse 6. Wabaka, Masha, Aishara, Yawam, Lakadash, Azaha, Kaga, Hamatazawa, La Yahweh, Shaba'aitha, Yam, Matazawa, Atha, Athakalwa. Verse 7. Bayawam, Hara'a Shawan, Makwara, Quadash, Hayahaya, Lakam, Kal, Ma'akaf, Ibada, La'ah, Aishawa. Right, that's the first 7. I'll read it in the English. The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim, be a holy convocation. Even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover, and on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. In the first day ye shall have an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. So these few chapters, these few verses, really showing where the nation of Israel, you understand, supposed to be keeping. These are the feasts that the Most High has ordained us to keep. So all blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are supposed to keep these high holy days, right? We're not supposed to be celebrating Christmas, Easter, New Year's Day, Valentine's Day, Kwanzaa, all these other filthy heathenic customs that is introduced to our people. We are not supposed to take these or have these so-called holidays or holy days. These are the feasts that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are supposed to be keeping and celebrating. And we in the I.S.U.P.K under Commandant General YAHANNA is continuing to teach blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians our culture and our history, so that we'll be able to understand that these are the feasts that we're supposed to keep. And one of the major feasts that we're supposed to keep is the Lord's Passover. And in the I.S.U.P.K under Commandant General YAHANNA, we keep the Lord's Passover. All right, I think it was April 24 last, where we had the 52nd annual Lord's Passover, right? And we continue to keep this tradition because it's our heritage. This is something that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are supposed to keep. This is the only thing. We're not supposed to keep any other custom that is not part of the nation of Israel that is not part of these scriptures. And this is where we're supposed to be. This is what we're supposed to be doing. And right after the Passover, we have what? The Feast of Unleavened Bread. Now, just to get a backdrop of the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Passover was instituted when we came out of Egypt, when Moses delivered the children of Israel out of Egypt. And during that time, when just before they came out of Egypt, all the plagues that Moses brought upon Egypt was to what? Destroy the economy, destroy everything that was supposed to be in Egypt. And every time Moses brought these plagues through the Most High, Pharaoh had hardened. Just like how this system here, the more blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians try to rise up, try to come out of this oppressive state world that we're in this world, in this time, is the more they what? They try to increase our task, increase our labor, increase our burdens. This is what they do time and time again. So in the story of Egypt, right, Pharaoh was not letting the nation of Israel go. You understand? So the Most High commanded Moses that he would bring a plague, a devastating plague upon the Egyptians. And that plague was death to all the firstborn of the nation of Egypt. So what they did, Moses instructed the entire nation of Israel that at that time to kill a lamb without blemish, without spot, and put that blood over the doorposts of their dwelling, and to roast that lamb. Roast that lamb, and that lamb was to be eaten and when? Passover night. And during that night, all the firstborn, from man to beast, everybody was destroyed, of the Egyptians only. Every house that the Israelites were in, that had that covering, had that blood, the angel of death what? Passed over those houses. The angel of death did not touch one soul of the nation of Israel. None of the Israelites who were covered by what? The blood of that lamb that was put over the doorpost. And that's what we celebrate every single year. The death and the destruction of our enemies and the deliverance of the nation of Israel. That was what is being, described here as the Lord's Passover. It's a remembrance to show that how our power, our God delivered us out of the hands of our enemies. And that is what is taking place here in these first couple of scriptures, as well as we celebrate as what? The Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is the next day after Passover. Now, the Feast of Unleavened Bread is when we left Egypt, right? And we had to live in what? In haste. We had no time to put any leavening agents into our bread, into the dough, to make the bread. So the leavening agents, what is make the bread get the fluffiness and make it rise. So in the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is kept for what? 7 days, all the leaven that is in your house is to be removed. All the baking soda, all the leavening agents that is in your house, baking powder, any food that has leavening agents, all the pasta and all these things was what? To be taken out of our houses for 7 days. And not only that, we are not to eat any leaven for 7 days. You understand? And that is part of our culture, part of our history for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. And the first couple of scriptures here shows that in the aspect of what is the Passover, why it is being celebrated, and is what? So that we'll be able to teach our children these customs so that they will understand and learn our history, learn our culture, so that they will know that there's a God in the midst of Israel. And that is the purpose of us keeping these feast days, to remember the mercies and remember the salvation that the Most High gave to us during these times, when we were under what? Under the hands of our enemies, under the hands of our oppressors. And that is what the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread reminds us. Right, so we'll continue the reading. In the Hebrew, the book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 8. Wahakwa Batham Ashar La Yahweh Shaba'aitha Yum Yum Bayawam Hashaba'aya Makora Kwadash Kal Malakath Ibada La'a Ta'aishawa. Verse 9. Wayadaba Yahweh Allah Masha La'ama. Verse 10. Daba Allah Banya Yashar Allah wa Amarath Alahayim Kaya Tabawa Allah Ha'arataza Asha Banya Nathan Lakam Wakwa Tazaratham Ath Kwatazayara Wahabatham Ath Aima Ra'ashayaf Kwatazayarakam Allah Hakahan. Verse 11. Waha Nayapa Ath Ha'aima Lapanya Yahweh Larataza Nakam Mamakwa Raf Hashabath Yanapan Yawa Hakahan. Verse 12. Wa'ayatham Banyawa Hanaya Pakam Ata Ha'aikam Salakia Ha'aima Kabash Thamayam Ban Shanatawa Lala'aya La Yahweh. Verse 13. Wamanakathawa Shania Asharayam Salaf Balawala Bashaman Ashar La Yahweh Rayaka Nayakaka Wanasaka Yayan Raba'aitha Ahana. Verse 14. Walakam Wakwalaya Wakam Ramallah La'a Fa'akalwa Aida Aitazam Hayawam Hazaha Aida Habaya Akam Al'af Kwaraban Alayakam Kakwaf Iwalam Ladarath Yakam Bakal Mashabath Yakam. Right, that's up to verse 14, and read the English now. The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 8. But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. In the 7th day is an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye be come into the land which I gave unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priests, and ye shall wave before the Lord to be accepted for you on the morrow of the Sabbath. The priest shall wave it. Verse 12. And ye shall offer that day, when ye wave the sheaf and he lamb without blemish of the first year, for a burnt offering unto the Lord. And the meat offering thereof shall be of 2/10 deal of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto the Lord for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the fourth part of a hin. Verse 14. And ye shall eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ale, until the selfsame day that ye have brought an offering unto your God. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Now, once more, we're seeing that the Most High gave us specific instructions for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to keep these feasts that the Most High has ordained us to keep. Very specific. And when you're reading through, you'll understand that this wasn't just something off. This was something that was very, very systematic. It was something very holy. It was something separate. And even how they did it. When you read verse 13, it says, and the meat offering thereof shall be of 2/10 deals of fine flour, mingled with oil, an offering made by fire. So you're taking this fine flour, right? And this fine flour, those who understand, those who old school would understand, when you take flour, you sift it. And when you sift the flour, it becomes very fine and fluffy. You understand? That's what we call the fine flour. And you take that and mingle it with oil and make what? Nice bread or bake. You understand? And it continues and said, right? The 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto the Lord for a sweet savor, and the drink offering shall be thereof of wine, the fourth part of a hin. So wine was also very acceptable. That the priest could have take a drink, you understand, in an offering towards the Lord. And verse 14 says, and you shall eat neither bread nor parched corn, nor green herbs until the selfsame day that he brought an offering unto the Lord. So during this time, you're supposed to what? Bring that offering to the Most High. So you had the Lord's Passover, you had the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and these are the things that we're supposed to do, and the traditions we're supposed to keep for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Let the Chinese keep the Eid al-Fitr, and the Muslims keep the whatever. Let the Chinese keep the Feng Wang, whatever else that they have to do. That is their customs. That is not our custom. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, this Bible we have here is our constitution. This is our law. This is what governs us as blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. All these holidays that they have is not ours, has not been part of our culture, has not been part of our history. Just as it says in Deuteronomy 28, these things are what? These are things that we have learned. And in Jeremiah 10 say what? Learn not the ways of the heathen. And because what? We want a piece of pork for Christmas. All these things are against the Most High. And blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians should understand that these things are what? Not of our culture. And we got to understand that even going straight through the scriptures, this was only for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, not for everybody. Even so, when you go through all the scriptures, even in the New Testament, all the disciples kept these feasts. All, including Christ, kept all these feasts. And we'll show all the proof in the scriptures, in the New Testament. We'll continue to show it time and time again. Right? So I just run through some quick scriptures here. Right? We can look at Matthew 26 to show that Christ didn't just do away with the law, but he kept the law. And he never said anything about what? About destroying the law, taking off the law, changing the law, or destroying the law. He actually enforced it and made it better. Right, so we're in Matthew chapter 26, and we can start from verse start from verse 2. Right, and this is start from verse 1. This is Matthew chapter 26 and verse 1. And it says, and it came to pass when Jesus had finished all these sayings, he said unto his disciples, ye know that after today is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is to be betrayed, to be crucified. So Christ and his disciples were always preparing what? For the Passover. They always kept the law. Christ kept the law, and he encouraged his disciples and encouraged everybody who he was teaching to keep the laws and keep those feasts. That is what he did. And if we go down to verse 17, right, just before when Judas betrayed him, they said, verse 17 said, now the first day of the feast of what? Unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus, saying unto him, where wilt thou that we prepare for the where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? So we had the lamb, you understand? We have all these things prepared. So they're looking for a place to say where we will what? Come together. Where is this spot we go sit down and what? Eat this Passover lamb, and what? Also celebrate what? The feast of unleavened bread. And this is right in the scriptures. And continuing that, right? Verse 19 says, well, actually, verse 18 says, and he said, go into the city to such a man and say unto him, the master said, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house. Because the Passover was supposed to, everybody's supposed to come to Jerusalem to keep the feast. Right? And he would go to the different houses in different places and to the temple. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples. Verse 19, and the disciples did as Jesus had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. So they had all the stuff, they get the lamb, they do all the stuff, and prepared it for what? The Passover. All right? So that was just that part. So that was just showing from the old and into the new, the Most High, all the disciples of Christ, and Christ himself would keep these feasts. All right? So I'll continue the reading in the Hebrew. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 15. Wasaratham lakam mamakarath Ashabath mayamwa salakia mayawam habaya akam ath aima hathanawapa shabai shabathwath Thamayamath Thahaya Yana. Verse 16. Ida Mamakarath Hashabath Hashabaya Aitha Thai Salakia Thasapara Wa Hamashayam Yawam Wahai Salakia Waha Korabatham Manaka Kadasha La Yahweh. Verse 17. Mamawa Shabath Yakam Thaba'ai Awa Lakam Tanawapa Shathayam Shaniya, Aisharayakum, Salaki, Aisharayam, Salaf, Tahaya, Yana, Kamataza, Ta'apanya, Banawarayam, La Yahweh, verse 18, Wahakwa Al, Halakam, Shaba'aitha, Kabashayam, Tamayamya, Banya, Shana, Wapara, Ban, Bakwa, Akad, Wa Ayalam, Wanayam, Yanawa, Yahayawa, Ayla, La Yahawa, Wamanakatham, Wanasaka, Yanaham, Asha, Rayaka, Yanakaka, La Yahawa, verse 19, Wa Aisha Yakam, Salakia, Wa I Shayatham, Sha'iriya, Isayam, Akad, Lakata Ata, Washanaya, Kabashayam, Banya, Shan, Lazahab, Salakia, Lazabak, Shalashiam, verse 20, Wahana Yap, Hakan, Hakahan, Atham, Al, Lakam, Habakarayam, Tanawapa, La Panya, Yahawa, Ayla, Shaniya, Kabashayam, Kwadash, Yahayawa, La Yahawa, Lakahan, verse 21, Wakoratham, Ba'ai Tazam, Hayawa, Salakia, Hazaha, Wakora, Kwadash, Hayaha, Lakam, Kal, Lama Salakia, Mala'akath, Ibada, La'a, Aishawa, Kakwath, Iwalam, Bakal, Mawashaba Aitham, Salakia, Mawa Shabatha Yakam, Ladarath Yakam. Reading the English. The book of Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 15. And he shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that he brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete, even unto the morrow after the 7th shall be Yin Salakia, even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, ye shall number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. Ye shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2 tenth deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits unto the Lord. And ye shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock, and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto the Lord, with their meat offering and their drink offering, even an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto the Lord. Then ye shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goat for a sin offering, and 2 lambs for the first year of a sacrifice of peace offering, and the priest shall wave them with the bread of first fruits for a wave offering before the Lord, with 2 lambs. They shall be holy to the Lord for the priest, and ye shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be an holy convocation unto you. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. Now, once more, let us understand. Now, we had the Passover, we had the Feast of Unleavened Bread for 7 days. After the 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, we count in what? 50 days after. After those 50 days, we celebrate what? The Feast of First Fruits. This is what we are celebrating today. All right? 50 days after the Feast of Unleavened Bread has ended, we check 50 days, and now we are in the Feast of First Fruit. And this is the time when you will have a lot of your harvest and a lot of these different things that would be taking place at that time. So we see here, it says, right? Even unto the morrow, after the 7th Sabbath, ye shall number what? 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. Now, all these things we do as a what? As a memorial unto the Most High. So all these sacrifices of the sheep and the goat and all these things, we don't do those sacrifices. Christ is what? The sacrifice. But we keep these feasts as what? A memorial. Because these are the feasts that we will continue to keep when Christ touched down. You understand? When the kingdom of Israel is established and set up, when Christ come and put all these nations under subjection, the nation of Israel will continue to keep the laws, the commandments of the Most High, and continue to what? Celebrate these feasts as a what? As a memorial. So this is where we are now, at the feast. You understand? This is what actually happening. And as at this time, where we continue to what? Remember and teach our children. And as it says here, this is what? And verse 21 says, and ye shall proclaim on the self-same day that it may be what? A holy convocation, which is what? Separate. Holy means what? What dash? We mean to separate. It's different. Right? And ye shall do not, no servile work therein. So you should not be, going to slave. But this is where we are, because we are in this captivity. If for some reason you have to slave, you understand? Because of what? This captivity that we're in, then you will have to do what you have to do. But when we are in our kingdom, and we have nobody what? Over our backs. You have nobody to what? If you ain't go today, you'll be fired. When we are in our kingdom, there's be what? No servile work. If you have the opportunity to stay and do no servile work, that's it. If you have workers as a mighty nation of Israel, you have workers, you are what? Not obligated to work your employees on that day. That day is for what? That's their day off. That's their day for the Lord. And it continues and says, it shall be what? A statute forever in all your dwelling throughout your generations. So this is not something that this is a one-off. This is forever throughout our generations. So this is not stopping. This is continuing and keep on going and going and going. So when the Christian church say here, well, the laws are done away with and we no longer keep this, this is saying something here what? Contrary to what Christianity is talking about. So this is why we have to understand these scriptures. And once we understand these scriptures, this is where we'll understand how we are supposed to keep the feast of the Lord. All right, so we continue the reading. The book of Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 22. Wabakwatazarakum af kwatazaria aratazakum la'a takal pa'ata shadak bakwatazarak walakwat kwatazarakam salakia kwatazaraka la'a talakwat la'aynaya walaga ta'izab atham aniya Yahweh aliyakam. Verse 23. Wayadaba Yahweh la'a masha la'ama. Verse 24. The ba Allah banya yasha'ala la'ama bakwadash hashabaya aya habakad lakash lakadash Yahaya lakam Shabbath 1 Zakah 1 Tarawai Makora Kwadash. Verse 25. Kal Malakath Ibadah La'a Ta'aishawa Wahakwaraba Thum Asha La Yahweh. Verse 26. Wayadaba Yahweh La'a Salaki Al Masha La'amma. Verse 27. Aka Ba'aishawa Lakadash Hashabaya Aya Hazaha Yawam Hakaparayam Hawa Ma'akura Kwadash Yahayaha Lakam Wa Aina Yakam Salakia Wa Ai Nayatham Ath Napasha Thayakam Wahakara Batham Asha La Yahweh Wakal Malaka La'a Ta'aishawa Ba'ai Tazam Hawa Salakia Hayawam Hazaha Kaya Yawam Kaparayam Hawa'a Laka Salakia Lakapa Aliyakam Lapanya Yahweh Alahayakam. We read the English. The book of Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 22. And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not take, Salakia, thou shalt not make clean riddance of the corners of thy field when thou reapest, neither shalt thou gather any gleaning of thy harvest. Thou shalt leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am the Lord your God. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, ye shall have a Sabbath, a memorial of the blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Verse 28, and ye shall Salakia, and ye shall do no work in that day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God. So once more, all these are the feasts of the Most High that we are supposed to keep. So we had Passover, we had the Feast of Unleavened Bread. 50 days after the end of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Unleavened Bread runs for 7 days. After the 7th day, from the very next day, you check what? 50 days, we'll have the Feast of First Fruits that we are celebrating right now. After the Feast of First Fruits, we have what? The memorial blowing of trumpets, as well as after the memorial blowing of trumpets, we have another feast, which is not really a feast per se, but is called the Day of Atonement. That Day of Atonement is where you fast for an entire day. No food, no water. That is the affliction of your soul. You understand? Where we afflict the body. And this is for the Most High. No food, no water for 24 hours. Now, before something like that is done, you have to what? Consult your doctor. Consult your camp leader to make sure that you are fit and healthy enough. Little children and women who are pregnant or nursing do not go through this, because why? Or persons who are sick or who have some may have some kind of chronic illness or something like that. They do not do the Day of Atonement, because by you fasting like that, no food and no water, it could be what? It can affect you in a very negative way. But once you are strong and you are healthy, you must keep the Day of Atonement. Right? And also, let's dive in a few quick scriptures, also showing and proving that the disciples kept the Feast of First Fruits. Because in the scriptures, as a man from the nation of Israel, there are what? There are 3 major feasts that we are supposed to keep. Three major feasts where all the men of Israel are supposed to come to Jerusalem to celebrate. And in the New Testament, we saw it. We had one, which was what? We had the Passover, where all Israel used to come together. And then we had what? The Feast of First Fruits. And we'll show that in the New Testament. And we'll show also we had the other one, which was the Feast of Tabernacles. Right? So as we go through the scriptures, we'll be able to show it. Now, let's dive into scriptures here. When you go into, let's go into Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 16 first. Right? Just to prove what I'm saying is true. So Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 16 says, 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose. Right? Which was the Jerusalem, when Jerusalem was established. And when the temple was built, the temple was in Jerusalem. Right? In the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Salakia, I'll start over. 3 times in the year shall all the males appear before the Lord thy God in the place where he shall choose, in the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and in the Feast of Weeks, which is the Feast of First Fruits, and in the Feast of Tabernacles. And they shall not appear before the Lord empty. Because during that time, all the males had to come for that feast and had to what? Bring their sacrifices, offer towards the Most High. That is what was being done at that time. We will also jump into some other scriptures. Right? We'll go into I will go in the book of Exodus. The book of Exodus, chapter 23 and verse 14. 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. That is just after the Lord's Passover. That's the very next day after the Passover. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I command thee, in the time appointed in the month of Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. Verse 16 says, the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors. That is what we just read in Deuteronomy 16 and 16, what we call the feast of weeks. Right? It is the feast of harvest, the feast of first fruits. Right? The first fruits of thy labor, which thou hast sown in thy field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field, which is the feast of tabernacles. So once again, it continues to show where we're supposed to keep these feasts. And we'll go again in the New Testament to show that the disciples also kept these feasts. Right? So when you go into the book of Acts, Acts chapter 2 and verse 1. Now those who understand, those who are learning scriptures will understand what is being said here. So this is Acts chapter 2 and verse 1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all in one place, in one accord. Now, if you understand the history and the culture of the, of the nation of Israel, now this is written in English, and the New Testament is what? Written in Greek. Salakia. The New Testament is written in Greek. So the word Pentecost or Penta is in the Greek for what? 50. So this is really saying when the day of 50 was fully come. So if we understand and recognize what took place just before, during the Passover, Christ was crucified. Christ was crucified during the Passover. And then again, as per the law, all the disciples came together for this what? For this other feast, which was what? The Pentecost, or the day of Pentecost, as it is written in Acts chapter 2. But it's supposed to be what? The feast of first fruits, or the feast of weeks, as it's also stated in the scriptures, or the feast of what? Or the first of harvest, or feast of harvest. So all this is what? Showing that the disciples kept the law. Paul also kept the law. For all those who say that the law was done away with, and all the feasts and stuff was done away with, I'll show you it here as well. Let's go again to Acts chapter 18. And all these are just little snippets, just to show that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are supposed to keep these feasts. Right? So this is Paul writing in Acts. Right? So this is Acts chapter 18, like I said, verse 20. When they desired him to tarry, I start from verse 19. And he came to Ephesus and left them there. But he himself entered into the synagogue and reasoned with the Jews. When they desired him to tarry longer time with them, he consented not, but bade them farewell, saying, this is Paul speaking here, I must by all means keep this feast that cometh in Jerusalem, but I will return again unto you, if God will, and sail from Ephesus. And he sailed from Ephesus. Now all this concluded way down where Paul went to Jerusalem. You understand? He kept a vow with some men who was there, and he had to cut his hair, which was a so-called Nazarite vow. He did all the sacrifices that he was supposed to give for those vows, right? And during that time, this is when what Paul was arrested during that time, and then he had to go to trial and everything else. You understand? So all this is showing that Paul and all the other disciples, Peter and Christ, kept these feasts and kept the law of God. There's no way around it. Right? So I'll continue in the scriptures. So I'll continue in the Hebrew. The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 29. Kaya, Kal, Anapash, Asha, La'a, Ta'aina, Ba'aitazam, Hayawam, Azaha, Wanakarath, Ma'ai, Maya. Verse 30. Wakal, Hanapash, Asha, Ta'aisha, Kal, Malaka, Ba'aitazam, Hayawam, Hazaha, Waha, Salakia, Waha Abada, Thea, Ath, Hanapash, Hahawa, Makwarab, Aima, verse 31. Kal, Malaka, La'a, Aishawa, Kakwath, Iwalam, Ladarath, Yakam, Bakal, Mashabath Yakam, verse 32. Shabbath 1. Hawa Salakia, Hawa'a, Lakam, Wa'ai Yanatham, Ath, Napash Salakia, Napash Tayakam, Basha'aiha, Lakadash, Ba'irab, Ma'irab, Aida, Irab, Thashabathwa, Shabbathkam, verse 33. Wayadaba, Yahweh, Al, Masha, La'amah, verse 34. The Ba, Al, Banya, Yasha'ala, La'amah, Bakamash, Aisha, Yawam, Lakadash, Hashaba'aya, Hazaha, Kaga, the Aishawa. Reading in English. The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 29. For whosoever, Salakia, for whatsoever soul it be that shall not afflict in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whosoever it be that doeth any work in that day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. He shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever through your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even, ye shall celebrate your Sabbath. Verse 33. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day and of this 7th month shall be the feast of tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. On the first day shall Salakia. On the first day shall be a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. So again, once more, it's showing you the feast that we are supposed to keep, right? Ending off showing here the Day of Atonement is a day that we are supposed to keep. All these feasts that we are keeping are righteous, and they are ordained by the Most High. Even when I show you how to even reap your fields, which is all about brotherhood. It's talking about you should not glean the edges of your field. And the reason for that is that those who were poor or those who were widowed would be able to get something to eat. So you don't do like the white man and pick everything and leave nothing for the poor or the needy or the destitute or the fatherless. This is what kept brotherhood in the nation of Israel. These laws and these commandments, these feast days, is what drove and what kept the nation of Israel together. So I'll continue the reading. The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 36. Shaba Aitha Yam Yam Thakora Yabawa Asha La Yahawa Bayawam Hashamaya Yan Salakia Hashamana Yanaya Makora Kwadash Yahayaha Lakam Wahakora Batham Asha La Yahawa Aitazawara Hayawa Kal Malakath Ibada La'a the Aishawa. Verse 37. Allah Mawa'idaya Yahweh Tharakwa Isalakia Thakwa Ra'awa Atam Mokora'aya Kwadash Lahakwa Rayab Salakia Lahakwa Rayab Asha La Yahweh Al Wamahanaka Zabak Wanasa Kam the Ba Yawam Bayawam. Verse 38. Malaba Shabatha Yahweh Wamalak Bad Mathanayam Wamalabad Kal Nada Riyakam Wamalabad Salakia Wama Labad Kal Nadabath Yakam Asha Tanawa La Yahweh. Verse 39. Aka Bakamash Aishara Yawam, Lakadash, Hashabayaya, Basa Pakam, Af, Sabawath, Ha'arataza, Thakagawa, Af, Kaga, Yahweh, Shaba'aitha, Yam, Bayawam, Hamarathiyawam, Shabathawan, Wabayawam, Hashama Yanawa, Shabathawan. Verse 40. Walakwatham, Lakam, Bayawam, Akura Shawan, Paraya, Aitazah, Hadda, Kapath, Tamarayam, Wa'aina Yapa, Aitazah, Ibath, Wa'ai Rabaya, Nakal, Washala Katham, Lapanya, Yahweh, Alahayakam, Shaba'aitha, Yam. Verse 41. Wakalatham, Athawa, Kaka, La Yahweh, Shaba'aitha, Yam. Bashan, Takath, Iwalam, Ladarathiakam, Bakadash, Hashaba'aitaya, Thaigawa, Thawa'a. Verse 42. Basakatha, Tha'aishawa, Shaba'aitha, Yam, Ka, Haza, Salakia, Ha'aitazawa, Salakia, Ha'atazaraka, Ba Yashar'ala, Yashabawa, Basakath. Verse 43. Lama'ai Shanaya, Salakia. Verse 43. Lama aina yadawa aiwa. Darath yakam kaya basakawath hawashabathia af banya yasha'ala bahawatazaya atawatham ma'arath matazarayim aniyah Yahweh alayakam. Verse 44. Wayadaba Masha Ataf Ma'aidiya Yahweh Al Banya Yasha'ala. So reading the English.